Billy Ho here. Welcome to the DFS Picks, Pivots, and Strategy Show for the American Express Tournament. Congrats to Hideki Matsuyama on last week's Sony Open victory. And also a big congrats to Tully936 for cracking the 600-point mark and winning the Billy Ho going away. Now, I won't always hindsight previous tournaments, but since it was the first full field event, I thought maybe we could learn something from it. First off, you're never going to predict those randos that shoot up the board in any given week. You're not going to get those Svensons or Houtongs or even Ben Coles. You know Coles, like the department store, but not spelled the same. That's my John Coffey voice. Anyway, I really, one thing I did want to mention, I really whiffed on Henley, even though $8,500 price I thought was great. But I did have enough decky to come out a couple bucks ahead. So, new day, new week, fellas. So without further ado, let's get started. We begin the Cali swing at La Quinta Country Club, a 3-course tournament. Players will be paired with an amateur the first 3 days, and each will play a round on the host course, which is PGA Stadium West, then the Nicklaus Tournament course, and La Quinta. Also, the AMEX is back to a 54-hole cut event. Now, the famed PGA West Stadium is the host course, and it is the one in play on Sunday. It's our first Pete Dye course of 2022. And what you need to know about Pete Dye courses is they're all about position golf. They tend to have tricky looking approaches, and they try to fool you. The stadium course has super small Bermuda greens at right around 5,000 square feet on average. And there is above average number of bunkers to challenge those up and down skills. And all these courses are right around 7,200 yards and under total yardage. And you'll see a list of Pete Dye course specialists in the slideshow. And the PGA regular tour, and I'll point out some dudes that fared well on said courses. I'm not going to get into the 2 other courses as much, as they are basically standard easy scoring courses, 4 par 5s, and that is your biggest thing there, is to attack those par 5s. That's where your bones are made. Now, the early weather forecast on the 10-day looks much like what we've seen through the first few weeks of golf. Gorgeous conditions at La Quinta, and other than maybe a little bit of gusty winds over the weekend, scoring is always on tap. I would see probably a sub-20 under winning score without much issue. Now, let's get into the golfers. First, I'm going to run through some 1v1 players that I think match up. And I do want to point out I did put all this together before DK pricing came out. And after I finish this rundown, I will go over some lower price plays that I might be interested in this week, and maybe you will as well. We'll start with Rahm at 11,300. The man did everything you could possibly want at the TOC without winning. And he will be one of my top plays. He crushes West Coast courses, and he is number 1 with a bullet. Next up is Patrick Cantley at 10,900, and he's basically your 1A in this tournament. Another West Coast stud who should use his dominant ball striking and look to come out on top this week. It might be worth trying to jam these two in a lineup together, but that's going to be stretching it. All right, next up, We've got two ball striking phenoms ranked 12th and 23rd respectively in my model. Corey Connors at 9,400 has not seen La Quinta in a couple of years, and that was a missed cut. The only other appearance was a mundane T50, but as we all know, Corey Connors made an epic jump up in talent and ability since then. PGA West is a course he should be good at and still has Bermuda grass greens, which is his better suited surface. I got him up against Willie Z at 9,100, who has some really good finishes on the West Coast, and like places like Torrey Pines and Riviera Country Club. If he's been working on his game over the break, this is a tourney I think he could really score well at. All right, next up we have Tony Fenow. Top 5 Tony loves the West Coast. He's clocking in at 10,200. He ranks 3rd in my model for West Coast guys. And we all know Tony's Achilles heel is the putter. He's 0 since September in the strokes gained putting category, losing nearly 4 strokes in almost every tournament. That can't last, so the good news is his tee to green game looks good. Look for Old Tone to compete for a top 5 once again this week. Now the price is not quite even, but Matt Wolfe at 9,300 seems to have matured and gotten past his mental issues, and he had an outstanding fall. You need to know he is a very volatile golfer, but that's what makes him so special. Bad news is he was so good in the fall swing, he's probably going to be pretty popular at that 9,300 tag. He's 2 for 2 in cuts made here, and I think he'll outscore his finishing position. Now, next up, you almost could have flip-flopped this a little bit just according to pricing, but I had Abe Answer versus Scotty Too Hottie Scheffler. A rough couple of outings for Answer to start 2022, and the missed cut last week is going to put people off of him, in my opinion. The thing is, Answer ranks 6th in my model for West Coast courses and has back-to-back top 5s here. I really like Abe to bounce back this week, and the early exit from Hawaii should actually benefit him. Now, Scotty at 10,600 also thrives in the West Coast. He has a top 5 here as well as a missed cut last out. Scotty is somewhat volatile himself and who always can miss a cut, but he does his best work when he has that driver going because it really helps lead to his good iron play. So I think Scotty will be somewhat popular this week, even though the price is a little bit on the high side. Now, the next up, I wanted to do, excuse me just one second. I wanted to do Sebastian Munoz versus Johnny Vegas. It's a battle of the South Americans, 2 guys who can dominate off the tee, and if the putter rolls, they have big upside. Seabass does his best work when he gets those irons hot. Not a lot of experience here, but always a threat. And Johnny V actually has a win here way back in the day, but he's mostly made cuts since then. He's had a bit of a resurgence in the 2021 season, so it's possible he could make a good run this week. Next up, we have Seamus Power versus Cam Trangali. Seamus is right back in contention at Sony and has continued an 8-month run of some really impressive golf. He has some good results here, but after making such a strong run this week, will he be able to muster up that same game again? We'll have to see. Trangali has emerged in the last year or so as a pretty solid player himself. He continues to post good results, even though I keep fading him every week for some reason. He has a ton of experience here and with a lot of made cuts. If the price is right, which at 8,900, I'm not 100% sure I like it, he's probably going to be in the player pool. Now, the next item on the list, Patrick Reed versus Justin Rose. I immediately wanted to side with Reed on this one. He ranks top 5 in my West Coast model, and he does have a win here, but also has back-to-back missed cuts, and his game looks suspect at best right now. But we all know Reed debunks the stat models and can come out and play well anytime, anywhere. Now, Justin Rose has played okay in the fall, and the price on him at 8,600 versus Reed's 8,800, I think the price is right for a good cut maker. I'm not 100% feeling either one of these guys, but, it is what it is. Now, next up, we have Adam Hadwin at 7,900, who's had a really good course history here, and his short game can carry him at these courses. He's really good on Pete Dye courses, and if he can heat up the irons, he will most definitely be a threat. He's actually looking more popular than the guy I like at 7,800, his old cash game Chris Kirk, who had a pretty good week at Sony. He didn't quite have the firepower to get up the leaderboard, but I think you could put him in your cash lineup queue. Kirk ranks 15th in my West Coast model over the last 2 years. Now, on to Brian Harmon versus Kevin Strielman. Harmon's at 7,900 and Strielman is at 7,400. Little B just managed to make that cut at Sony, but his ball striking was not the reason. He's losing close to 8 strokes in that department, but a fire putter kept him somewhat respectable. Brian has had some good success here in the past and is very good on Pete Dye courses, and that is largely due to his awesome short game. Now, Kevin Strielman makes his way a little bit differently, as he's another solid Pete Dye player, but he thrives on the West Coast swing. And he's pretty much the opposite of Harmon in that he gets it done hitting fairways and greens. His short game is his kryptonite, and if he can somehow muster up some decent positive vibes there, he'll be really good this week. Now, getting down into the 7Ks, the first guy popping up in my model in the lower sevens is Hayden Buckley at 7,200. I think after his run at Sony, he will be a bit higher owned, but his DK scoring is just too damn good. He's really good at fairways gained, plays the par 5s well, and has got a solid approach game. His nemesis would be Taylor Moore, in my opinion, at 7,300. He's another Korn Ferry type guy I like this week, and he has good left to right ball flight and scores DK points. If he can improve the opportunities he gets, I think he'd be ready to roll. Now, enough of that. I want to just bring up a few sub 7K guys here just to finish out the day. And I think the first guy I'm going to take a stab on is Sabs this week. Rory Sabatini. We'll get 3 rounds of golf, and at 6,900, that's right in my wheelhouse, price-wise. With him missing the cut last week, I think we're going to get about 3% ownership on him. And he's always a good DK scorer, and he's always good on Pete Dye courses. The next guy I'm going right back to is Hudson Swafford at 6,700. His around the green game will hurt him this week, I think. But I also think that he will make enough birdies to score DK-wise. His ball striking still looks solid, and I think he will maybe get up and down okay. Now, there's a couple more down low guys I wanted to bring up before we finish out here. One of them I want to mention at 6,400 is Sam Ryder. Now, Sam is a great birdie maker and DK scorer, and he just has a tendency to miss too many cuts. But with 3 rounds of golf, I think he'll get enough scoring done and maybe make that Sunday run. And plus, with the miscut last week, nobody's going to play him. He'll be another sub 5%, 3% guy. The last guy I wanted to mention is JT Poston, also at 6,400. And I just wanted to bring him up because he kind of showed up on the radar, showing a little bit of off the tee and approach game last week at Sony, where he normally shines is around the green and putting. And he was not very good there, so I think that's going to regress. If he has any kind of good approach positive week this week, he's going to do well. And nobody ever plays JT Poston. Well, all right, everyone. I hope you got something out of what I discussed. And it helps me become a better player, and I hope it helps you too. And I really want to. We'll see ya.